Our planet is a finite space. This imposes constraints to how we operate as societies and economies. We need to manage these constraints now and in the future, considering the limit of our planet, as for example, the available resources. A recent scientific paper by Stephen and Hall has identified 9 planetary boundaries, that is, 9 categories of resources which humankind must not deplete, or it risks a major global crisis such as we have never before experienced. Of the 9 planetary boundaries, the state of 3 of them is difficult to characterize, but we only have in-depth knowledge of 6 out of the 9 boundaries. Of these 6, 3 have already reached a critical state: biodiversity and 2 streams of material, phosphorus and nitrogen. Our current management of these resources is disastrous, either because they are heavily exploited or because we are making them disappear through our behavior. 2 other planet boundaries have been identified as being in severe condition: soils and climate. Today, we are focusing on climate. Scientists have identified an extremely fast global warming with respect to the pre-industrial era. Although it has already been warmer on Earth, this temperature was the outcome of warming over thousands of years. We are now speaking of a 4 to 8 rise within the century, 2000 to 2100. At the global scale, this warming doesn't happen evenly through the globe. Some areas will warm up more and faster than others. The consequences of that warming are affecting the ecosystems, which don't have time to adapt, and that constitute the support of life. Mass extinction, disruption of the water cycle and rising sea level, desertification and much more regular extreme weather events such as storm, heat waves and so on are the predicted consequences, some of which we are already seeing at 1 degree of warming. These are also felt unequally in different geographies. The scientific community is working to understand what the different levels of warming might imply to human societies. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, the IPCC, is the leading international body for the assessment of climate change with support from the United Nations. It was established in 1988 to provide the world with a clear scientific view on the current state of knowledge in climate change and its potential environmental and socio-economic impact. The latest IPCC special report on the impacts and consequences of 1.5 degrees is a recent example of this work. The IPCC reviews and assesses the most recent scientific, technical and socio-economic information produced worldwide relevant to the understanding of climate change. It does not conduct any research, nor does it monitor climate-related data or parameters. In their 5th and latest assessment report, the IPCC analyzed 4 scenarios for the next 100 years. These scenarios are called RCPs, standing for Representative Concentration Pathways, and are a proxy for the evolution of global mean temperatures. We are currently on the most pessimistic scenarios, the RCP 8.5, which will induce 5 degrees global warming. Despite the optimism instilled by the Paris Agreement, each country's efforts to date are nonetheless far from being sufficient to meet Paris mitigation goals. To date, 22 countries have not yet published their ENDCs. Furthermore, if we add up the various national commitments, global warming will be at between 2.9 and 3.4 degrees, well above the Paris Agreement goal. There face a real challenge where action is concerned. We need to reduce our GHG emission and to do it quickly. Everyone must take up their responsibilities. How is all of this relevant for the low-carbon transition? The low-carbon transition is a set of processes that we need to implement to change our behavior, both individually and collectively, our technology and our economies. This is a two-way avenue: top-down through policy, regulation and incentives, and bottom-up through individual investment decision, technological and business innovation, social movement, and so on. Bottom-up initiatives are emerging all over the world. That is, initiative invented and proposed to the rest of the society by a few individuals. We could mention new way of eating, developing renewable energy at the individual level, or a new sharing economy made possible by networks, offering new outlooks in the realm of travel and consumption. But governing authorities are also a source of change. For example, large companies now have to disclose their engagement in climate change mitigation in their mandatory CSR report, as required by law in France, but it's also true for the investors. There are many climate action initiatives, far beyond what we could cover in this 8-slide presentation. And we suggest that you get information on initiatives that are relevant to you and that are being developed nearby. Don't be afraid embracing the low carbon transition and commit to climate action now. You can find more about climate action on the UNFCCC website related to climate action.